Steady lights flickered across her closed eyelids, and in her ears she could hear the rhythmic hum and rattle of a train on its tracks. Evie Snow opened her eyes, expecting to find herself on the 2032, pulling into an unfamiliar station in an unexplored part of the city, having drifted off to sleep as she so often did when she was younger. Instead, when her eyelids fluttered open like two twitter-pated butterflies, she found herself in the lift of the building she lived in when she was 27 years old. She glanced at the button board and saw that the number 7 was lit up, beaming at her. The door slid open and the rickety lift gave a tiny shudder, wobbling Evie's already unsteady stance, urging her to get out and keep going. She was sure she hadn't been in this lift before she'd fallen asleep. She was sure she hadn't been in this building for over 50 years. Evie's gaze flickered up to the polished gold surface of the lift's walls. She noticed someone else in the reflection, someone standing exceedingly close to her. She spun around to catch the woman she'd seen, but the lift was empty. She was alone. Looking back into the gold, she examined the only reflection it showed her. That of a woman in her 20s, blonde curls tumbling over her shoulders in an unruly fashion, curls that Evie had only seen as thin and grey for a long time. Chocolate eyes stared back in disbelief, full of life and vibrancy. Eyes that hadn't yet forgotten how to shine. The skin on this woman's face was smoother than her own. It hadn't yet been weathered and worn from years of crying, laughing, frowning and smiling. Evie reached up a hand to her own face and felt the silky skin under her fingers. A quick, breathy laugh escaped her lips, like she'd been punched in the gut, forcing the memories of this face to the forefront of her mind. When she tilted her head, so did her mirror image, and when she smiled at the sudden realization that this reflection was indeed her own, the beautiful 27-year-old Evie in the polished gold smiled back too. Evie finally stepped out of the lift and the heels of her favourite shoes clicked against the marble floor. She called them her carpetbag shoes because of their resemblance to the carpetbag that held Mary Poppins's impossible treasures. The hem of her floral dress swished around her knees, and suddenly the warmth of her cherished emerald green coat sank into her bones, and she was enveloped in a snugness she'd not felt for a very long time. She wiggled her fingers, realizing that her left hand did not yet bear an engagement ring. A ring that had not only weighed down her hand with its extravagant too big emerald, but had weighed down her heart too with its significance. She held her hands in front of her, smiled at their emptiness, then swung them by her sides all the way down the corridor.